Hi everyone, this is Prashad Parthiban. Today I'm going to explain the term indemnity agreement in surety bond. So most of you know what is surety bond. Surety bond is a three-party contract between an insurance company, which is otherwise called a surety company, principal and obligee. Whereas when you talk about indemnity agreement, it's only a two-party contract. This contract is between the surety company and principal. And why do you need this agreement? This makes sure that if there is a claim and the surety company is making that claim amount to the obligee, the surety company can always go to the principal and ask them to repay that claim amount. As I told you in traditional insurance, once the claim is made, the insurance company is at loss. Whereas the surety bond works differently. When the surety company makes the claim amount, they can always go back to the principal and kind of ask them to repay that claim amount back. To have an official document, they need to have this indemnity agreement. That's what this definition says. The indemnity agreement in surety bond is a contract where the principal agrees to reimburse the surety for any losses, cost, or expenses incurred in fulfilling the bond obligations. Similar to any kind of agreement, this indemnity agreement also has different types. To start with, the general indemnity agreement, which is covering all the bonds under the principal. So if the principal have five different bonds, this general indemnity agreement will cover all the bonds under that particular principal. Similarly, the specific indemnity agreement will cover a specific bond, not like if the principal has five different bonds, the specific indemnity agreement will just cover only one specific bond. Individual indemnity is where one particular individual will take responsible from the principal side to kind of repay the loss amount. Corporate indemnity is more of a corporate where the entire corporate will be responsible instead of individual person. Joint and several indemnity. Sometimes if the company is a joint company where there are many partners, so in that case, all the partners who are indemnitors are responsible to repay the money back to the surety company. Indemnity is basically a kind of concept where the indemnity agreement will be in place until the bond is there. Once the bond is expired, the indemnity agreement also will be expired. Limited indemnity is where only for a certain time period or kind of no only for a certain type of bond, this indemnity will be applicable. To limit that kind of scope, we use in limited indemnity. So these are all different types of indemnity agreement. Plus, each agreement document will have different clauses, right? That's important to understand those clauses. To start with, the indemnification clause is an important clause, which is the primary bread and butter of this agreement, which clearly says that the principal is in agreement to pay the loss amount back to the surety company. The second is hold harmless clause. Here, even though there is a liability under the against the surety, they are not kind of no responsible for that. It's the principal's responsibility to make any loss amount back to the third parties. Subrogation loss, in case if there is a third party was at fault for a particular loss, then the surety company has the good rights to go back to the third party and claim the payment back. Assignment clause is a clause where no you are able to assign the remaining receivables to the surety in case if there is a claim, the surety makes a payment. Now the surety company can take the ownership of the remaining receivables or the properties of the principal to cover that claim amount. Books and record clause is the kind of clause where the principal is giving ownership or no approval to the surety company to review their entire book of records for them to determine the surety bond can be issued or not. Collateral security is again, this is saying that the principal has to make a certain amount of collateral to kind of secure this bond, right? That's what this is about. Attorney fees, if there is any attorney fees involved in a particular court case or etc., then principal is agreeing that it will also be covered by the principal's financial receivables. Joint and several liability clause. As I told you, in case if the company principal is the joint venture, so the entire joint company, meaning all the partners part of the joint company, is responsible to repay the money back to the surety company. Waiver of defense clause. This very clearly says that if there is a claim amount and if the surety is making a claim payment, the principal cannot defend that no, I cannot make the payment back to the surety because the surety made the payment very quick or they made a payment without consulting, etc. Right? So this very clearly says that you are waiving those defense clauses. Termination clause is very clearly says that when do you want to terminate that indemnity agreement, like after, is it through a written notice or it's through a oral discussion, etc., etc. The point is, this indemnity agreement is also like a kind of policy issuance document which has different clauses. Plus, this indemnity agreement can have different types too. So it's good to understand what do you mean by indemnity agreement, especially with surety bond. Thank you. Bye bye.